At first, it was hard to believe that you could make a living off juggling. I didn't think it was possible. But then I proved myself wrong. I'd started juggling maybe 2018, 2019. My friend Tim, he originally taught me how to juggle. And if I wasn't working at Arts West, I would have never learned. Arts West was my first job where I was the lead sound guy. While I was maintaining the grounds, Tim would come in and lead the juggling club. Little did I know the juggling club was comprised of one man, Tim Smith Busette. So I kind of felt bad for him. So I was like, I could give this juggling thing a try. So then me and Tim were juggling every day. We ended up building the club up to a pretty good size, maybe 10 regular participants. But I wanted to take it to the next level. I wanted to make money juggling. Not because I wanted to make money, but because I wanted to never stop juggling.
When I graduated college, I didn't really know what I was going to do. And after reading the job descriptions and everything, nothing sounded appealing to me. Nothing sounded even remotely appealing to me. And that was a problem.
I dialed up every assisted living facility in the state of Ohio. And then we ended up performing at over 100 facilities. I didn't realize how rewarding this was going to be until I started, and I could see the look on everybody's face when I would be juggling. It was the most thrilling thing they'd seen probably all year.
If I kept heading down the finance path and got a career in finance, I could see myself being in that line of work for maybe a decade at that point. I didn't want to be stuck in some shitty finance job, trying to work my way up, sucking up to management. Everyone knows how it goes at those places, but it never was for me. And I didn't want to be stuck there for 10 years. I didn't even want to be stuck there for a year. So I went a different route. I needed to make money. What did I do? I got a job at a Subway shop. After working there for about a week, I really didn't like it, but I needed to pay the bills, so I kept working there. But I also kept my options open. And then I found an opening at a country club nearby. So I applied, interviewed, and got a job there. So now I was working two jobs. One as a bartender / server, and the other as just a guy at a sub shop.
I was doing things my way until COVID-19 struck, and it all went to shit. I lost all my gigs. I lost all my clients. I didn't have shit going for me. Except for one thing. I found this little slice of heaven in Millfield, Ohio. It was actually formerly a feminist commune. Now, recreation land. I moved out there, off the grid. Every day I would hike the trails with my dog, Huckleberry. I would hike around, I would juggle, I was planting gardens, I was maintaining the land, just living away from everyone else during the times of chaos. And it was during this time when I really started to look internally at what I wanted for my life and myself. It was during this time when I became close with myself. Because it was just me out there. I mean, there was other people out there. But most of the time I was alone, walking in silence, listening to stories like the Tao Te Ching, the Alchemist, the Bhagavad Gita, studying sexual transmutation.
I didn't want to basically commit to a career in finance, so I just needed something temporary. But it turns out something temporary, something transient, can last a lot longer than you would think. Because those jobs that I got a few weeks after graduating college, I would hold those jobs for 2 years after that. And then I was lost. I had no idea what I wanted to do, where I was going. I lost my sense of direction, and things just started to get to a point where it was just hopeless. And working at the sub shop and working as a server, bartender was like the final nail in the coffin. It's like, okay, I'm here. I'm exhausted. I'm not doing well. But I just need to make these bills. It got to the point where I couldn't even think about my future. I was just thinking about getting by. And that's not really a good state to be in for anyone. And I'm sure that people are still there. But luckily, my dad had noticed that I was struggling, and he reached out and said, hey, you have different options for your future. Have you considered going back to school?
I was living off grid, fully embracing the life of digital minimalism. Look it up, Cal Newport. That is until I received a text message from my friend Benja. It was a YouTube video from the creator, Ivan on Tech. It was an episode of his morning crypto channel called Good Morning Crypto. I'd never really heard of crypto. I didn't really know anything about investing. I had just gotten into stocks because I had a lot of unemployment money. Sue me. I opened up a Roth IRA. I unloaded all my savings into it. And that's when I discovered Bitcoin. And I withdrew it all. I took it all out early because there was still a stipulation about COVID. And I thought, F the stock market. Crypto is the future. So I put all my money into it. It was crazy. I was early by a smidgen. Just a smidgen.
I needed a change. I was losing it. I just needed to do something different. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give school another shot, and I'm going to take it seriously this time. So there was one thing left that I had to do. Quit my jobs, pack my bags, and head back to my old alma mater, Ohio University. A place where pleasure heavily outweighed academics.
Crypto was the first thing to pull me out of digital minimalism. I really thought about, does this technology align with my values? And it was pretty quickly I had the answer. Yes. I saw freedom. I saw possible financial freedom for myself, but I also saw freedom from the current system. The system I'd been trying to escape my entire life. So I went all in. I bought Bitcoin. It was like 10K. Just 2 months later, it was already blasting past previous all-time highs at 20K.
So I was headed back to Athens, well above an acceptable age to be here. So I knew it might be difficult to find friends. But little did I know, one of my old friends was still here. His name, Spencer White. On my way down to Athens, I decided that I was going to stop at his place, see how he was doing. He gave me his address, and I'm looking at the GPS, following the GPS, and as I get closer, I pull off the main road, and then I head into the hills. And when I say the hills, I mean the hills. You're going up into the hills, down, sideways. You're going through the hills and you don't even know where you are. This place was a lot more difficult to find than I had originally thought it would be. Because the closer I got, the more difficult it was to find my way around. Because at some point, the GPS shut off. And I was in the hills. Next thing I know, I didn't have any signal. So I was going in blind. Didn't know where I was at. Didn't really have a great sense of direction. Still don't. And somehow, I got a little bit of signal, called Spencer, and he guided me the rest of the way there. When I pulled up to his place, I just pulled up, it was just like a spot off the road, just like a parking lot. There wasn't any house. You couldn't even see any house. It was just a gravel parking lot. It's like, I had serious doubts. I didn't know if I should run the other way or stick around to see what would happen. But it easily could have shaped up to be a Michael Myers situation. It's like, wow, this seems a little bit sketchy. But then Spencer popped out of the woods in his standard cutoff t-shirt and his dog Huckleberry by his side. And I knew everything was going to be pretty chill. Believe it or not, we had a lot to talk about. So he took me back through this path to his house, and it turned out to be a really cool spot. He showed me the ropes of how he'd been living. He'd built a chicken coop. He had chickens. He had chickens that he'd taken care of, and he's been selling eggs. It's like, wow, entrepreneur, making it out here on the land. He told me that this was previously a feminine commune, which I found interesting. I believe he was the first male that had ever lived on the property. It's like, wow, that's a unique situation, but cool nonetheless. And then he showed me his backyard. That's when things got really interesting. We started walking the perimeter, and there was a little spot in his fence that he opened like a gate, but it didn't look like a gate. So I knew something was up. It's like, wow, this gate looks like it's disguised. It doesn't even look like a gate was here. Hey, that's for a reason. And he takes me back through this small little path. And next thing I know, I come face to face with like 15 8-foot plants. And I'd seen Pineapple Express, so I knew what those plants were. The quality didn't look great, but nonetheless, he had a secret garden. And he'd been working hard. I could tell, because each one of those plants was about 2 feet taller than I was. And that's saying something. After that, got back in my car and headed back to Athens to break in my new apartment and start a new, more promising life. That's when things got really interesting.
Turns out the world is going to shit. The economy's everything's falling apart.
Would you stare into the abyss long enough? The abyss stares back.